Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima kathira. This is Brother Jesse from Link Outside, which is the Muslim Prison Outreach Program here in Anaheim, California, but we service everybody nationwide. Alhamdulillah, we have a distinguished guest, and I'll let him introduce himself quickly.
Yeah, my name is Kim Lamar Robinson, a.k.a. Matt Kim, but now known as Abdul-Wali Abu Amani.
Alhamdulillah, so the transfer of Islam. So one of the things we're doing through these different series that we're going to actually begin is that what we want to do is highlight brothers and sisters' stories from behind the walls. And one of the reasons why it's so important, because many of these stories go unheard. You know, it's like on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, there's a lot of stars, right? And people are acknowledged by their names and some of the acclimates or accomplishments that they've done through different productions and different films, right? But there's a lot of stars that go unseen. There's a lot of stories that go untold that were so transformative amongst many. You know, we hear stories like Malcolm X and many others, but there's many Malcolms. There's many people who have transformed lives. There's many people who have helped give people tools and abilities to take it to the next level. Some of the most influential people come out of the incarcerated spaces. So one of the things that we want to do is not only highlight people who have come out of the incarcerated spaces, but also to the transformative stories of the conversion, because it's life-changing. It's generational. It changes generations. It changes families. And so it's super important that brothers such as Abdul-Wali and others get some recognition, and also that the community at large, especially the immigrant community, begins to know about, especially a lot of the African Americans and the struggle that we've gone through because of some of the backdrops of slavery and economic oppression and social oppression and things of this nature. So, alhamdulillah, we want to overall extend, number one, our gratitude to Abdul-Wali to share and be kind of vulnerable with the story. And inshallah ta'ala, we want to thank you overall for just tuning into this presentation overall. And so this is going to be multiple series, and we're going to go through different phases within his life. So, alhamdulillah, some of the questions that I want to first ask my dear brother, we're out here at Newport Beach in California. And alhamdulillah, we see people enjoying some of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, surfing, out here having fun. Some people have traveled from different regions to come out here. And let me just tell me a little bit about your upcoming. Like, what year were you born? Where'd you come from? What was the setting in Fresno? Because I know that you said that you were born in Fresno. So what year were you born?
I was born in 1972 out of Fresno, California. So I'm a 70s baby.
Oh, you're 70s baby. Okay.
70s baby. So back then, you know, with the funk, the function, and, you know what I'm saying, Parliament and all that. So I grew up in that era.
Okay,
you know, popping and locking.
Oh, so you was popping, locking, and dropping. Okay. So 70s, right? So we're coming into the era of, obviously, especially like in the eastern region and maybe in the western region, heroin was a thing. Then we're going into the crack epidemic. We're starting to get into that. So how did that overall, for you in your life, I don't know, maybe you were exposed to that, maybe you weren't. What was the setting of Fresno? What was Fresno, Cal? Because you grew up in Fresno, right?
Yeah. Growing up in Fresno, you know, like I said, I'm a 70s baby. I was born in 72. You know, as far as the drugs and whatnot, as far as the crack and all that, that didn't come until like the 90s.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So back in my days growing up, man, nothing really major. You know, basically just marijuana and the drinking.
Gotcha.
So really wasn't that gang banging and all that. It was like having a good time, you know, smoke a little weed, and then, you know what I'm saying, enjoy your day. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't no gunplay, none of that.
So what was like the economic situation in Fresno? Was it poor? I know it's like an agricultural town, but you know, what was the overall setting of the
Fresno, as far as the cost of living, Fresno was one of the best places to be in the world. You know what I'm saying even in, you know what I'm saying, America, the cost of living is very low. You know, back then I remember when I was growing up, you know, gas was like 75 cents a gallon. Okay. You know, candy bars was 10 cents. You know, you get on the bus, you know, for 10 cents. So it was very economical, and everybody was living, and you know, it wasn't hard times back then. I don't remember hard times.
Okay, so you don't remember hard times. Okay, so what was your family structure like? I mean, was your mother, father there? Were they pushing education? Were they pushing for you to get some type of vocational education, or, you know, just overall a job? Or what was the status? Were they on you hard? Was you know what I mean, was you a bad knucklehead, or was you all right? Was you a goody two shoes, or what was the situation there, bro?
Well, growing up in school, I was always smart. You know what I'm saying? From elementary school to junior high, even when I was in elementary school in the 5th grade, I was tested for the GATE, you know, for the gifted.
So what's that? Tell me what the GATE is.
Gifted is when they see your test scores, you know what I'm saying? You get tested with the CAT scores or whatnot when you're going into elementary. And if there's any potentiality that your scores are high, that you may have a genius gene or you may be gifted, then they test you to be with the gate, the gifted kids. So I was tested for that, but I failed the test on purpose.
Oh, you failed the test? You failed the test on purpose for real?
Yeah, I failed the test on purpose.
What was the reason?
Well, because back then, I was trying to be cool and I wanted to kick it with my partners. And if you was you was part of the gifted crew, you had to go to the other school.
Wow.
And so the other school back then is like, to be smart, the psychosis was that if you're smart, you're dumb, you're a nerd, you're not in. So even though I was smart, I had to dummy down because I still wanted to be cool.
So on a little side note, let me ask you a question. Do you think that's something that's really within the side of maybe some of the street African-American culture, that notion that like if you was part of that crew, that you ain't, you know what I mean, you kind of corny or, whatever word that you kind of want to use to basically like you ain't in. You think that's a real thing in our situation, in our culture overall?
It's very real. Okay. And it's part of the psychosis, or we say plantation psychosis. One of the things.
So explain what the plantation is. Some of the viewers don't know what the plantation psychosis is.
Plantation psychosis comes from the concept of the Willie Lynch syndrome.
Okay.
Or plantation psychosis, which is a systematic plan and plot, done by certain forces that be with regards to the African race. Gotcha. And with all these systematic methods, and experiments that were done on African Americans, it warped our mind. Gotcha. So one of those things with regards to the psychosis is to dummy down and always to be deemed as dumb. Gotcha. In the African community, if you're smart or you have a good verbiage or you can speak well, you're trying to sound white. You know what I'm saying? But not that you're educated and you got some sense about yourself, but you're trying to be white. And so in the community, anything trying to be white or anything not black is not cool.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you can miss a lot of opportunities because you're trying to stick to the dysfunctional quo, you know what I'm saying, what society brings about there right now. You know what I'm saying? So even with myself, I feel like I missed my calling. Gotcha. Because if I wasn't so caught up with that psychosis of not trying to be smart or not trying to sound white, or I wanted to kick it with my partners, maybe I wouldn't have went to the other school. Maybe I would have went to some type of Ivy League college or something. I don't know. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So all right, alhamdulillah. So you grew up in that time, and you had both your mother and your father there, right?
No.
I mean, okay. So what happened?
Well, what I remember, as a child, my dad was there until I was like the age of 4.
Okay.
My mom, they divorced when I was young, so he came from North Carolina. He was here, shipped in the Navy. Gotcha. So he met my mom in California, and then when they divorced, he moved back to North Carolina. So pretty much I was raised by my mom, pretty much.
Gotcha.
Raised by my mom.
So raised by your mom, your dad. Let me ask you a question. Did you always search for maybe connection to your father with that one? And did that ever manifest itself in a certain way, or did that affect you in your life maybe?
Well, I always talked to my dad, like whether it was on the phone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It didn't have to be some, face to face, but he would call periodically, every couple months, every 6 months or something like that. He'd call on the phone, but it was like, hey, how you doing? So there was no substance behind it. Gotcha. Really. There was no substance behind it. So I know now that I'm a Muslim, I was lacking. I was lacking. I didn't have my phone around.
Gotcha, okay. All right, so alhamdulillah. So your mom, she was tight on education, wanted you to get educated, wanted you to do well, always was trying to provide at some level for your development, your overall evolution?
Well, my mom, because of the single household or single parent household, my mom worked all the time. Gotcha. So by the time me and my brother came home, my mom didn't get home till like 5 o'clock. So we got a lot of wiggle room, me and my brother, from the time that we get out of school until the time my mama come home. And then when she come home, the African-American woman, she been working all day. Yeah. She's tired. Gotcha. She's tired. She want to go in the room. She want to relax. My mom, alhamdulillah, whatever I mean, she made sure she had home cooked meals every day, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. But once she did that, man, she wanted to go in the room, close the door, and relax. So, yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so when you were going in now, so now you grew up in Fresno, 70s baby, we're getting into the teen situation, right? Things start coming along, women start coming in, probably things of that nature, right? From what I understand, you were pretty athletic, right? Yeah. What were some of the things that you did?
Man, I played soccer, baseball, track.
What were you the best at?
Man, anything that I played, I excelled in. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so you're just a winner, right? So, like DJ Khaled said, he was just winning everything. Okay, mashallah.
Well, if I wasn't going to win, I wasn't going to play.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, I was told that, anything I do 100%. And if I can't be one of the people that can make a change in it, I don't want to play. I'm not sitting on the bench.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Got you. Yeah. So, okay, alhamdulillah. So you excelled in these things and you were really good at particularly math, right?
Yes.
Math is like one of your strong points. What makes you like math?
Well, math, everything is based on math. You know, from my understanding of mathematics, you know, they even had a show, it was called Numbers. And the guy, he was a mathematical genius, and everything, he was cracking cases, you know what I'm saying, based on mathematical deductions and whatnot. So everything is based on math. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So just like with mathematical aspects of life, I could look at something, break it down. If and the formula don't make sense, I can tell there's something wrong with the equation. So everything is based on math. Even how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and earth is based on a mathematical deduction, a perfect mathematical formula. You know what I'm saying? So everything is based on math. So if you understand math, you can understand life.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah. Math equals life. Okay, alhamdulillah, that's a good phrase. So, all right, so we're going into high school and stuff like that. Did you drink a little bit, smoke a little weed and stuff like that? Okay, you got a little dirty once in a while?
Well, you know, back in high school, I really wasn't heavy on drugs or anything, you know, but back in high school, you know, the norm was to drink. You know what I'm saying? Blow a little weed. You know, we smoked joints back then, but I wasn't really heavy. But we did it as a social thing, and everybody was doing it. Gotcha. You know, but you know, back then, like I said, it was a party thing. It was a fun thing. Yeah. You know, just have a good time. Gotcha. But back then, it was just weed and drinking alcohol. I really didn't get in any trouble a lot until after, later on in life. You know, gotcha. But I really didn't get in trouble. I was into sports. Okay. You know, and I was into the girls. Okay, good, gotcha. All right,
so now at some time, you ended up having like a real epiphany or a real experience, a real spiritual experience, right? A Rabbani experience, I would call it, right? Yeah. So, can you just give me a little bit of like what led up to that, and just give me a brief, like, you know, explanation, kind of overall, what was the experience, and what did it do for you, and what some of the things that you saw, and you know, how did it affect your emotions and your relationships and things of that nature with people and stuff like that? What did it do?
Well, first and foremost, growing up and not having Islam, you know. The Prophet Muhammad tells us, now that I'm Muslim, I understand that the Prophet Muhammad tells us that we're all born with the natural fitrah of Islam. Okay. But it's our parents or an environment that makes us Christian, Jew, Magian, or whatever. So even though I didn't have Islam in my life, I always felt that there was something inside of me that was like, man, it's got to be something deeper than that.
So you had like a void.
It was like I had a void.
Yeah, like something missing. Yeah. You know? Just because I'm relating to the story a little bit because of the same situation. Yeah, we got you.
There was something missing because now, you know, I'm out of high school now, and now out of high school now, okay, what you want to do now? Yeah. And so back then the norm was, okay, we out of high school, now it's time to party. That's the norm. That's the dysfunctional cycle. I get out of high school, now it's time to party. After partying for about 4 or 5 months, now the question is, man, is this what life is all about? You know what I'm saying? It's got to be more than this. You know, so even though I didn't have Islam and I wasn't going to church or nothing like that, but I used to ask myself, like, why am I here? I used to look into the sky and say, well, what's going to happen when I die? You know, is there more than just getting high and drinking and whatnot? And so I had a void, and I was asking myself questions, you know. And so basically one day I was at a party, you know, me and my partner, you know, John Munoz, we was at a party. And
shout out to John.
Yeah. And, you know, we was smoking weed and drinking just like every other day. But this particular day, after smoking this one joint or whatnot, I started having chest pains. You know,
like what type of pain?
Like I felt like my heart was like I was going to have a heart attack. Like my heart was supposed to bust, and I had been seeing certain videos in school and in high school about health education and stuff like that, and how people do drugs, they have heart attacks and whatnot. So now the concept of having this knowledge of people having heart attacks on drugs. Now I just got through smoking this joint. My heart is pounding. My mind is saying I'm going to have a heart attack. So the first thing that my mind goes to, my natural fitrah, is, oh God, please don't let me die.
So let's just pause there for a minute, just for a second. So overall, this is a common thing that if one does a little bit of research, just to a lot of people's conversions or their spiritual awakenings, as people would say, is that this whole state of trial comes in. This whole state of like almost death, near death experience, for a lot of people. And I just want to just recognize that's a beautiful, even though sometimes we get into these crazy things in life, there's a beautiful experience, there's a beautiful light that Allah puts into these situations. You know, subhanAllah. So that's just really amazing for me. But so you still internally in this fitra was still permeating. Still was that impulse was still going on, trying to find out, trying to search, and finally it manifests to kind of save you at this moment. It's like, oh God, please help. Gotcha. You know?
So now I'm in a situation where I'm feeling or I'm knowing that I'm in a life or death situation. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm only 17.
Ooh, 17. Okay.
Just out of high school. So now I'm like, man, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, oh God, please don't let me die. I'm too young. I'm only 17. I just, graduated from high school, And so, we're at this house. We're at a party. At first I went outside. They tried to give me the milk and walk me in and, get some fresh air. I come back in the room, but my heart is still beating. And so now I'm getting scared. So now I'm like, man, let me go up in the room and go have a seat, close the door. So I went in the room and I sat down on the bed and I'm still like, God, please, what's happening? I don't want to die right now. And so I closed my eyes and I sat down on the bed and I closed my eyes. And as I closed my eyes, basically I try to just let myself go, try to have a calmness about myself. And when I did it, I felt some type of feeling like a pulling, some type of pulling feeling. And I felt it. But when I got scared. And so I opened my eyes real quick. Like, man, what was that? But right before that, remember I was saying, oh God, please don't let me die.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, man, that was, whatever that was, it was scary. But at the same time, it felt good. So I told myself, man, I'm going to close my eyes again. And when I close my eyes again, if it happens again, I'm going to just keep my eyes closed and let happen whatever's going to happen. So I closed my eyes again, and as I closed my eyes, that feeling came again, and I felt the pull, and I just, put my trust in whatever was going to happen, and I allowed myself to just go. And the next thing I know, I'm seeing myself, my soul coming out of my body, whatever that was, it was a light, and it was pulling my soul out of my body, and I could see myself coming out of my body, going through the roof, and the next thing you know, I'm in the middle of the sky, surrounded by a bunch of stars.
Wow.
And there's a light holding me up. So I'm just sitting here and I'm in the middle of the sky, surrounded by stars. I'm sitting cross-legged, and I'm like, man, this is, I can't believe, I don't know what's going on. Then the next thing I know, I hear a voice. I don't see nobody. It's a light, it's a bright light, it's holding me up. I'm in the middle of the sky, and then the next thing I hear a voice. And the voice asks me, do you believe in God? Now, I ain't thought about God. I ain't been to church. I ain't read no Bible in I don't know how long. Next thing I know, I hear a voice, do you believe in God? First thing I say, yeah, I believe in God. Who don't believe in God? Who gonna say that they don't believe in God? So I said, yeah, I believe in God. Then the voice said, you don't believe in God. You don't believe in God. Because if you believe in God, why do you do these things? I was like, what things? Then the next thing I know, it was like I was watching a movie of my life.
Wow.
And that voice was showing me a movie, and I'm sitting there watching my life. Things that I thought that I got away with, things that I thought nobody knew about, things that I forgot about, disrespecting my mom and whatever. All of these things, they were shown back to me. And the voice was like, you don't believe in God? Look at these things that you do, right? You don't believe in God because these are the things that you do. Right? Then the next thing that I know happened was the voice said, if you don't stop doing these things, and all the things that it showed me that I was doing, the things that I thought I got away with the girls, the drinking, disrespecting my mom and everything, the voice said, this is what's going to happen to you. This is what you get if you don't stop doing these things. So the next thing I know, something grabbed me from behind and threw me, flinged me. And the next thing I'm sitting in the chair, and as I'm sitting in the chair, these chains start wrapping around me, wrap around me. So now I'm sitting in the chair and I can't move. Then the next thing I know, I start spinning, like if you see the astronauts when they're getting trained and your stomach doing all that. Yeah. So that's what started happening to me.
Wow.
Chained up, sitting in this chair, and mind you, my worst fear is roller coasters. Anybody that know me, they know I don't get on roller coasters. I had a traumatic experience when I was 3 or 4 years old at Magic Mountain, out here somewhere at Magic Mountain. So I don't get on roller coasters. So like they say that whatever is your worst fear, that will be your punishment. In the hellfire. Some people say that. So my punishment at that time was being chained up in a chair like I'm in a roller coaster. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And so as I'm spinning in this roller coaster, it's showing me all of the things that I was doing. If you believe in God, then you'll stop doing these things. You don't believe in God because you keep doing these things. So I kept saying, I believe. And he said, you don't believe in God because you can stop unless you stop doing these things. So I said, I'll stop, I believe. Then it stopped. The roller coaster stopped. Then he asked me again, do you believe in God? I said, yeah, I believe in God. He said, no, you don't. Threw me back on again. Spinning me again. Punch me again. I feel everything. I can't move. I feel everything. The worst pain, I can't even explain the pain that I felt. And I'm screaming, I'm yelling, and I can't do nothing about it. And as I'm being punished, he keeps showing me pictures, visions of everything that I've done. And he keeps showing me and punishing me because of these things that I did. And he keeps asking me, do you believe in God? Yeah, I believe in God. Took me off again. Right? He said, do you believe in God? I was like, yeah, I believe in God. No, you don't. Threw me again for the third time. He kept asking me, do you believe in God? I said, yeah, I believe in God. He said, but if you believe in God, will you stop doing these things? Will you stop doing these things? I said, I promise I'll stop doing this. I promise I'll stop doing these things. Right? So then the roller coaster stopped. Then he took me off. He said, I did this to show you what will happen to you if you keep doing these things. Right? This is the punishment that you'll get if you don't stop doing these things. But if you stop doing these things, this is what you get. So the next thing I know, the roller coaster disappeared. And then the next thing I know, there was a tree. And it came. And this tree, it was a regular tree, but it had the glow of something heavenly. Like Then at the same time, the tree, it had every fruit on it. Apples, oranges, everything. It was a regular tree, like brown, the leaves was green, but it had every fruit imaginable, and it was the most beautiful thing that I've seen in my life. The tree was so beautiful that the same way that I was crying when I was being punished, I was crying even harder because of how beautiful the tree was. Wow. I couldn't believe how beautiful that, just looking at it. So I understood this is one of the trees of paradise. He said, if you stop doing these things, then this is what you'll get. So I started trying to grab for it. I'm like, well, shoot, if I could get there, I don't even want to go back. Yeah. I'm cool. I'm ready to go now. So I started grabbing for the tree. I started trying to grab for the fruit. He said, no, you can't have that right now. It's not your time. You got to go back for your testing. You got to let the people know what it is that you've seen. Let them know that heaven and hell is real, that God is real, and that there will be a judgment day. This is your test, and this is what you have to go back and tell the people. Wow. So right after that situation happened, the tree disappeared, and then my soul went back into my body. And so the next thing I know, one of my partners, he's shaking me. He's like shaking me like, man, wake up. So, actually I wake up, I get up off the ground. Yeah. And they're like, man, we thought you were dead. Man, we're getting ready to call the ambulance. So I'm like, nah, man, I'm not dead. I'm alive. Ooh. I'm alive. I said, God spoke to me. I seen the light, man, I'm alive. And so at that time, we was drinking and smoking and, so because of the magnitude of what just happened to me, man, I was telling everybody, man, we need to drop the drinks. We need to put this down. I started slapping everybody's drinks out their hand and everything because of what just happened to me. It was real. This is what I've been looking for. I didn't know, my purpose of life. I didn't know what was going to happen and this and that. And then in a nutshell, when I wasn't even looking for it, he gave me the answer. You know what I'm saying? So now it's situations critical, situations desperate, and after the incident, I couldn't even sleep for 3 days. Wow. I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I was scared to close my eyes. I was scared to go to sleep because I didn't know if I was going to get snatched up again, And so this is what led me to my search for Islam.